Hello and welcome to another Magic 2015 gameplay. Today we're taking a look at a Junt tokens deck, which is pretty interesting, so let's dive right into it. Quest for the Gravelord might seem a little weird in this deck, since most of our tokens are very small, but since we have a lot of small tokens that chump block or get sacrificed, it's easy to put counters on the quest, and once we have a bunch of counters we can sacrifice the quest at any point to make a 5/5, which is nice to be able to block larger creatures or attack into larger creatures as well. Then Banefire is just a good finisher / removal spell. Krenko's Command is a cheap and efficient token generator. Cunning Spark Mage is a way to deal with other token strategies. Since we aren't running Anger of the Gods ourselves, it's at least nice to have a way to deal with those tokens. Resounding Thunder is nice in a Junt color deck, since in a late game you can also cycle it, which means you get to draw a card and have a better effect. Only running 2 of them, since there are a bunch of 4 toughness creatures that are problematic, so we want to have answers for those as well. Then Ogre Battle Driver over here is our only 4-drop, but it's actually pretty nice in a token strategy, since all your tokens benefit from the Ogre's ability. Jade Mage is just a cheap creature that has some applications in the late game, allowing you to make a bunch of tokens. Elvish Visionary is also rather important, since it's making your deck virtually smaller by drawing a card when it comes into play, so you get to see more cards every game, and then having a 1/1 in play is actually quite relevant with cards like Beastmaster's Ascension, which is our main win condition in the deck. And you usually want to play the Beastmaster's Ascension when you have 7 creatures in play that can attack right away, so you don't give your opponent a chance to interact with the Ascension, and you can usually win on the spot. Then Cultivate is a way of fixing and ramping a little bit. We're not very high curve, but it's still nice to have some other mana fixing. Then Mycoloth is our other win condition. It has Devour 2, which means when it comes into play you can sacrifice a number of creatures and it gets +1/+1 counters, in this case 2 +1/+1 counters for each creature you sacrificed, and then it has this nice ability that on your upkeep you get a 1/1 creature token for every +1/+1 counter, so it's pretty easy to get a lot of tokens going if you devour a lot of tokens in the first place. Then Sylvan Bounty is another way of fixing our mana. We are not really casting this for 6 mana very often, but rather land cycling it for 1 and a green, searching up a swamp or a mountain or maybe even a forest, and in the late game, if we already have a lot of land, we can always pay 6 to gain 8 life in a racing situation. Is actually pretty nice. Then Sprouting Thrynax is another very efficient card, a 3/3 for 3 mana that when it dies makes 3 1/1 tokens. It does have its drawbacks against cards like Anger of the Gods that exile, because then you don't get the 1/1 tokens, but it's still a very efficient creature that you actually want to see die, because you would rather have the tokens than a 3/3. Then Cathari Bomber is another nice token generator. It's a bit weird, so it's basically a 2/2. When it attacks and deals damage to the opponent, you sacrifice it and get 2 tokens. And for 5 mana you can put it from the graveyard in play and give it haste to attack once again and make 2 more tokens. So it actually can make up to 4 tokens when used correctly, and deal 4 damage as well. So it's just a nice early game and also late game play that makes more tokens, which you will need for your win conditions. Then Augur Spree is our way to deal with those 4 toughness creatures I was talking about. And Ground Assault is just one of the better removal spells in the game, can deal with very large creatures for a very low cost. Our mana base is skewed towards red-green, because those are our main colors, having 4 Gruul Guild Gates, only 2 Golgari and Rakdos, the full amount of Savage Lands, and then only 1 swamp, 3 mountains and 5 forests, since we want early green to be able to cast our mana fixing like Sylvan Bounty. Let's jump into a game. Alright, let's take a look at our opener, which does look a bit weird, but those 2 Elvish Visionaries represents basically another card, so 4 lands is a bit much, but we are on the draw. Yeah, I think we can keep this. We just have to hope those visionaries get us something useful. Quests, I'm actually gonna lead with the Golgari Guildgate, but I'm probably gonna play a visionary next turn. Would be nice to deploy both quests at the same time, so they both benefit from creatures dying. Satyr Wayfinder, Junk Colors or Abzan Colors probably means Reanimator, and yeah, there's some pretty juicy cards in the graveyard already. Here, let's play the Visionary. Then next turn we can play Gruul Guildgate and perhaps another Visionary. Or we can play Forest into Cultivate, which is also nice. For opponent attacks, I'm not gonna block, since we want creatures dying once the quests are in play. And there is an attack. Right. Our opponent obviously wants his creatures to go to the graveyard, since he's a Reanimator, most likely. And no other play. Alright, so some decisions here. If we play the Cultivate now, we can look for a swamp and a mountain. And then next turn we can play Visionary plus 2 quests, which does sound pretty nice. Other options are playing the command. No, we can't even play the command, so we could play a quest and another Visionary now, but it doesn't sound as good as just cultivating here. And looking for a swamp and a mountain. Alright, and since we aren't blocking, we might as well attack. Alright, good. So at 4 mana, our opponent could play maybe the Surly Gatekeepers to gain a bunch of life, a Jailbreaker to stabilize the board, or perhaps just play some more Wayfinders or ramp cards. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be a Nemesis of Mortals instead. Well, that's a problem. It's... let's see, yeah, he hit a full jackpot here, so the Monstrosity will cost him 5 mana, or no, it's gonna cost 6 mana, which means it's not gonna Monstrosity anytime soon, so we have some time with these quests here. We drew a Sprouting Thrynax, which isn't bad. We could certainly play it and then block the 5/5. But I would rather block the 5/5 with a 1/1. So we can play the Visionary here together with 2 quests and then a Guildgate. I think that's fine. But first let's play the Visionary in case we draw something irrelevant. Mountain. So yeah, let's just go ahead and play the quests. And we will no longer be attacking. Alright, now that we have the quest in play, we can hope to trade a token for the Nemesis. But we also have a stream of chump blockers coming up with the Sprouting Thrynax. Alright, I will block here. Means our 2 quests are both active now. So let's make sure to activate them end of turn. Alright. So our opponent's gonna be taking 10 here. That's a lot. He probably traded the Wayfinder in order to get closer to Monstrosity, but we could even use our Augur Spree on one of our tokens to deal 4 more damage, but that sounds a bit greedy. No haste creatures, so let's go ahead and attack, see what our opponent does. Maybe he has a reprisal to kill one of our tokens. Yep, there it is. So power 4 or greater, we can't really do anything about that. And play a Sprouting Thrynax together with probably the Bomber here. And pass the turn. We will block an attack, I think. Alright, we don't want our opponent gaining tons of life with the Pelakka Worm, because I don't see us dealing 20 more damage from this point on, unless we draw one of our win conditions. But 14 damage should be manageable. No attacks, alright. Well then. There's our Ascension, but we have to be careful because there's a Reclamation Sage in the graveyard. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures means Monstrosity costs 5, which our opponent can activate. So there's that. Let's see here. For opponent monstrosities, that's 10. Then even Augur Spree will not be enough to kill the Nemesis. Unless for some weird reason our opponent blocks the Sprouting Thrynax and we can do it in response or something. But I think we just want to set up for next turn where we play the Ascension and kill our opponent. So let's do that. Now the question is, do we attack with our token? We know pretty much for sure that our opponent's gonna Monstrosity this. So if he blocks, then we pretty much lose our token for free. And I don't want that, so let's not attack with it. A block there is fine. Now we get a bunch of tokens. Our opponent could have a Planar Cleansing for 6 mana. But I think we have to risk it here and just play the Krankos command and just hope for the best. Opponent could also have a way to make us discard. Alright. Wayfinder's fine. Means no Planar Cleansing this turn. And not enough mana to reanimate something. So it's looking pretty good here. Can't imagine anything that could really screw with our plan. Alright. Let's go ahead and play the Ascension. And go to attacks. Alright. That triggers. We get a giant army. And that's gonna do it. Alright, I wanna thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay. And as always, have a nice day.